The felon's death really is coming. And let's take a look at what may or may not happen at the KIRK Memorial on Sunday. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First up, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, watching the videos all the way to the end. These are the things that really help YouTube spread the video to more people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I am starting my fall 2025 tarot class. Well, it's actually kind of already started. The videos are pre-recorded, and then we have 2 times a month I answer questions via video where we vote on topics, and we pick the topics that you guys want to talk about, and then I make videos on them. Those videos are generally about an hour long. And then once a month we'll do a live Zoom Q&A where I'll take questions live. If you sign up before the 20th of September, you get $15 off your first month. The course will last about 4 months, somewhere in that range. So and then after all the videos are out, then dramatically drop the price. So if you're interested in that and you have questions, just email me. You can email me scryingoutloud3@gmail.com. Also email me if you want a private reading or have ideas for videos. Just feel free to email me whatever you want. Okay, so the felon really is dying. Um, you know, there is a membership to this channel, the Soul Community, and the daily energies that I've been picking up just keep suggesting that this is coming, and maybe it's coming sooner than we think. I don't know. I always said October. I'm not necessarily changing that. But we'll take a look at that again. The Charlie Kirk Memorial is on Sunday in Arizona. I want to look at that. I want to see if there's going to be um, any incidences that maybe we should be worried about. I also want to take a look at the No Kings protest in October and see if that's going to be bigger than the previous No Kings protest, because I have a feeling it is. And I think the Missouri congressional map that got redrawn to get rid of Emmanuel Cleaver's seat and give the Republicans one more seat, I think it gets thrown out by the state Supreme Court, which is an utter shocker to Republicans. And California's Prop 50, let's see if that passes. I feel pretty good that it does, but let's take a look at that. So let's start with Missouri and California. Um, it does feel that the California Prop 50 passes. So Prop 50 allows the redrawing of the California districts to counter Texas's redrawing. And then we'll look at Missouri. I think that map gets thrown out either by the state Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court. I think, or both, if it gets appealed. It's very clearly violating some state laws. So we'll take a look at that as well. Okay, so let's start with California, though. Will Prop 50 pass in California? What do we need to know about Prop 50? I think really the main thing that you need to know about Prop 50 is that congressional candidates are already acting as if it's passed. And so I think they have data to strongly suggest that it's going to pass. So I think, is it going to pass? Will Prop 50 pass? What do we need to know about that? Does that feel quite right? There we go. Yeah, I see the Six of Wands and the Scrying Bowl, which is about victory. I also see the Five of Cups, which is about loss, but this is very clearly about Republicans, because the Five of Cups is appearing next to Mike Johnson in the scramble. So um, yeah, the Eight of Swords is actually, I think, is somewhat of a good card here. There's no other choice. We have to pass this. California has to pass it. Californians understand that. We're trapped. Um, if it doesn't pass, does that mean that the Democrats don't win the House? I don't know that it means that, by the way. I think the Democrats are going to win a lot of seats that are very unexpected. I think Texas redrawing makes it harder for sure, but I think Democrats probably win regardless. But California's going to feel like they don't have a choice. They're hearing the messages, they're empathizing with their neighbors, and particularly in the big cities of LA and San Francisco and uh, the inner part of San Diego, not the suburbs of San Diego, but the inner part that's very democratic. Um, it really does feel like there's mobilization already happening. If you live in California, let me know, but I have a feeling that there is. And really what this is about it's about the truth. And it's about fairness. The Ace of Swords, that's why it's showing up here. We get the Two of Wands about choices. Uh, we just can't do 2 more years of Republicans controlling everything. We just can't. Well, I mean, we could, but let's not, I think is what people's opinion on that is. Uh, we get the Five of Wands at the center. I like that. It's about conflict. It's about fighting for what's right. And that's exactly what this proposition's about. I think Gavin Newsom was amazing at getting this set up and to counter Texas. I think the Texas state uh, House members that left the state to draw attention to this were amazing as well. I think people are going to use their discernment, the Queen of Wands here, and realize that, you know, there really isn't much of a choice here. Are we going to allow Texas to do something that's blatantly unfair? No, we're going to fight that. And, I mean, Democrats generally win over 60% of the vote in California, so this shouldn't be too big of a climb here. It's about putting up guardrails against the felon and Vance and Republicans, depending on, I don't think the felon will be around by the time of election day, but if he is, well, I'd be really shocked if he was, but um, it's about putting guardrails against MAGA, the FCC, firing Jimmy Kimball, all of these things. This is the new reality. This is the new playground. This is how we have to do battle now, the Ace of Pentacles. And we get the Page of Wands. It's gonna send one hell of a message. And, you know, don't think it stops at California. It doesn't. After the gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey, as long as the state legislatures are completely controlled by Democrats, they might be redrawing their maps too. Maryland might be redrawing their maps as well. Um, they wanted to play this game. Democrats can out gerrymander them. Most of the Democratic states are done by independent commissions. So, you know, they decided to play this silly game. There's really no other choice. We have to fight and send a message. Guardrails have to be put up to keep Republicans from keeping eroding away our freedoms. And the people of California know the truth, and they know it's about fairness. And they know what happens afterwards, that it just goes back to the independent commission. It's not like it's a permanent change. It's not. Um, and well, it is until 2032, I guess. But people are seeing what's happening, with ICE and uh Jimmy Kimmel and all of these other, horrible things that are going on in the country. People not being able to access health care. uh, people worried about their Social Security. Most of this stuff is set up to not happen for a while, but people know about it. They're not ignorant to it. So I think Californians really know what they're doing here, and they have a choice, and they're going to choose to use their discernment because this is the new way we fight. This is the new way we do things. Independent commissions can be no more. Can't do them. If they're in places like Michigan, that's fantastic because they need to be in places like that. Ohio just ignores it. They have kind of that, but they just ignore it. The felons underneath, that's what it's all about. And it's about doing what with the felon? Walking away from him, leaving him behind, and leaving him, you know, sick. He's sick. And, I think it's inevitable that it passes. I think that there's a lot of strength here behind the argument. I do think there's some anxiety as well, but people are going to campaign as if their lives depend on it because their lives do. So if you got a little bit of extra money, throwing it to the yes for Prop 50, make sure that's right. Should Google to make sure I'm right. Campaign would certainly be a good way to spend it. Of course, we have Abigail Spanberger in Virginia and Mickey Sherrill in New Jersey running for governor. And then we have the New York mayoral race as well. And then some other elections. Okay, what about the Missouri map? So I think this gets thrown out. I, I was never worried about it. I couldn't figure out why I wasn't worried about it. I just thought, well, maybe it's just because it's one seat. I mean, I guess they could have tried to get rid of two if they really wanted to. They left the one in St. Louis intact. But I really think it's because they tried to redraw the maps, I think, in the 50s, halfway through the cycle, and the state Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And so, I mean, that doesn't mean that the new state Supreme Court's going to follow precedent, but I don't know. I think they do. I think they throw off the map. I think Democrats are prepared to do battle here. So what do we need to know about the Missouri map? So the Missouri map eliminates the Emanuel Cleaver's district around Kansas City and stretches half of Kansas City with one part of farmland and the other half of Kansas City with another part of farmland, which really doesn't make any sense that Kansas City is divided. So there's a lot of legal arguments here, not just the one I was talking about. Representatives are supposed to be able to represent their districts, and these districts are disparate in the sense that they have different needs. So it doesn't, I mean, within the district, they have different needs. That's also a good reason why the Texas map might get thrown out. We get the Queen of Wands prosecutorial type energy, really looking into this. Lawsuits have already been filed. The Wheel of Fortune, Missouri gambled here. There's going to be a fight. That's for sure. We get the Six of Cups. I think preserving the law for future generations, because, why it might seem kind of far-fetched for Missouri to have a bunch of Democrats, it's really not, right? It's not been that long since they had a Democratic governor. It's kind of like Kentucky. It can go that way. Star card of protection, protecting democracy, going to the courts, the Hierophant. Yeah, the Seven of Wands being very defensive about what they've done. There's a lot of anxiety about it. And ultimately, we get the Eight of Cups, and I think this is the map being thrown out. So the people against the map make their arguments. They have really good arguments to be made that are supported by law. And I think I think they win, and the Republicans are left uh, licking their wounds, so to speak. Republicans are ready to fight too, but that's just not what the law says. And eventually, here's the Democrats ready to do battle, the five of wands, but they don't really need to pick up their wands. The law's pretty clear here. So, um, we got the Hierophant, which is about the courts. I think there's a lot of anxiety about what they're will do, but ultimately, I think they side with precedent, um, because Missouri's not as big of a Republican state as a lot of people think. I mean, it's a Republican state. It used to not be, right? Obama lost it in 2008 by like 3,000 votes. It was very close in 2008. So uh, judgment will be rendered on this. The spies are the ones that lose, and those are the Republicans. So yeah, I think the Missouri map gets thrown out. Okay, let's look at the No Kings protests scheduled for October. Is this going to be bigger than the one before, which was really big already? So No Kings protest bigger than the one before. No Kings protest bigger than the one before. Let's see. King's protests bigger than the one before. It's bigger than the one before. Yeah. People are done. They are just done. His approval rating is the worst it's been since he moved into the White House. People are done with him. They're done with the lawlessness. They're done with the breaking of norms. They're just done. They're done with him, the emperor. They're done with the abuse of power. They're done with his wackadoodle nonsense coming out of his mouth. They're done with the Republicans parroting the wackadoodle nonsense. They're just done. People are done. And that's why these protests are going to be huge, um, because people are ready to take to the streets to make sure that they can do everything that they in their power to try to shape the country's future. There's a lot of emotion behind these protests. It brings back a lot of memories of worse times in this country. And yes, there were worse times than now in this country. There's a lot of anxiety. And it's a very scary time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not minimizing it. It's a very scary time. And there is a lot of anxiety. Uh, the courts, they're not always great, but at the same time, on the big stuff, they've been pretty close to right. We might not like some of their decisions, but at least they, make sense. I don't think they're going to allow him to, he's there's going to be elections in 2026. Uh, there will be. Um, there's already money being spent on it. Republicans are spending a fortune on it. They just redrew the maps in Texas and Missouri. So, I mean, what more do you need to know? There's going to be elections. Um, People are just done. I mean, the tower card, one structure after another being torn down. I mean, the good thing is we get to rebuild it when we take over. Uh, now the FCC and the Jimmy Kimmel situation, people are really done. Uh, the time for daydreaming is over. It's ready to put on our shoes and full speed ahead with the Eight of Wands here. So Ten of Pentacles, it's about the legacy we leave our children. and grandchildren, or just the next generation if we don't have children. Yes, we have anxiety. Why wouldn't we? It's because we care, but it's full speed ahead. That's why the protests will be bigger in October than they were previously, because people are tired of watching this country being torn down and put down, and other countries around the world looking at the US as if they're insane because we look insane. And people are ready to use their skills to put an end to this. And one of the skills is protesting. People are tired of the abuse of power, not terribly trusting of the courts, even though, they are kind of doing okay. Um, it's the time for daydreaming is over, and people are ready to let their emotions out. And what a better way to let your emotion out than to gather with millions and millions of people in the streets to tell the government to go blank off, because that's essentially what it's about. People gathering to celebrate, fight against the toxicity, and to send the message that we're ready for the Republicans to leave. And we have the star card on our side. So I think that happens in 26. Of course, they take over in 27, but um, that's what's going to happen. Okay, let's look at the KIRK Memorial, and then we'll just really quickly look at the felon. He really is getting sicker. He looked worse again in the UK. When he said something along the lines of King Charles was able to remember all these names, that's a slip. It's because he can't remember names. That's why he refers to people as Mr. Japan. He's he's got serious issues. Okay, what do we need to know about the KIRK Memorial? I don't see this as a big casualty event. I know some people are saying these things. I don't see that. I think it goes off fairly unnoticed. I do think some television channels cover it, which is unfortunate because they shouldn't. Um, I do think there are protesters that just stand there quietly. You know, Turning Points USA is a hate group. See that in the water on a sign. I think that's fairly accurate by the Southern Poverty Institute's definition. Uh, we can't be scared to call out the truth. The truth was Charlie Kirk promoted very bigoted and hateful ideas. That does not mean he should have been assassinated, but that is the truth. And we should be able to speak the truth without fear. And a lot of MAGA people, or a lot of Republicans that voted for the felon, they don't like Charlie Kirk. They don't believe those things. They just naively voted for the Republican because it's what they do. This is why things are going to change in the midterms and moving forward, is because the farming community is not going to blindly vote for Republicans now. They're losing money. Things are changing. They just are. We have protection. That's good. Hopefully this goes off without a hitch. The last thing we need is violence here to keep this in the news cycle. The Queen of Pentacles, I think there's stability. Um, mm, be some fighting. There might be some incidents. Five of Wands. Let's see what that means here in a second. I think Arizona's got the right idea, though. I think law enforcement are going to put up a lot of screening to make sure that this is safe. Limit the amount of traffic that can get to wherever it's going to be at. I can see that. I can see roadblocks set up. Um, I do think that the seed's been planted that violence could happen. So I think that law enforcement's on full alert. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the memorial, they can glorify him as much as they want. People know the truth. The people that want to think that he's a martyr are going to think he's a martyr regardless of what he believed. This is the way it is. That's how cults act. That's really what's going on here. But we know the truth. Doesn't mean we wanted him dead. I don't think anybody really wanted that other than the person that shot him. I mean, I think, the dove here is a good symbol. That is the truth and peace. Um, I don't think we need to be careful. Law enforcement does anyhow of not letting their guard down because there's a possibility for violence. But again, we get the Ace of Cups and, surprising new beginning. And I think the surprising new beginning is his name just doesn't get uttered. Give it one more month and then you won't hear the name again for a long time. Just in passing once in a while. Uh, it's he's not going to be as big of a figure as everybody is making him out to be, and we get wish fulfillment. That's good. So I think there is protection. I think law enforcement is well aware that there could be problems, and I think we get a wish, and there's none. Um, I think law enforcement is fully aware that there are delusional people out there. That seed's been planted, and they're going to be looking out for people that are wanting to cause trouble. So this all looks very good. There's stability, there's guardrails, there's peace and truth, and there's an emotional new reset, which I think the country could use after this. So hopefully this goes off without a problem and the news cycle moves on, which I think is what happens. I think it's inevitable that it goes off without a hitch. And then what happens? The Eight of Cups. We just move on. He's not going to be this like pop culture icon. He's not. He's not a Jimi Hendrix or a Janis Joplin or a, Amy Winehouse that people remember long after they're gone. He's just not. It's, I don't know why people are acting like he is because he's just not going to be. All right, so the felon uh, on the daily energy readings, if you want to join that, that's the soul community. You can watch the daily energy reading. Getting some weird energies. I keep, pulling the death card. I'm not reading on Trump's health, just like US politics, world politics, and then the collective's energy. But it's like there's just something big coming. I can feel it. And it's a release of energy, which that would be the biggest release I could think is the felon going away. So, and he is going to go away soon. He's looking worse and worse. The skin on his hand looks like it's rotting flesh. I don't know. I wish we could get a picture of it without makeup on. Um, it kind of looks like it could be actually something quite serious. Maybe it's from an IB. I don't know. I keep going back and forth on that one. But the one thing I haven't gone back and forth on is congestive heart failure, organ failure, cognitive decline, something wrong with his middle ear, with his balance. And he's, I think, been having many strokes as well. What do we need to know here? I mean, it's how he feels. He feels sluggish. His energy level is not good. Um, we've got the protection on our side. The star card's been coming out a lot today. Uh, it makes me feel pretty good about where things are heading. Discernment with the Queen of Wands. People celebrating the Four of Wands. The voters. You know, something coming forward about his health soon. More messages about his health. Knight of Pentacles. And, you know, we just need to wait. It's going to happen. I know there's a lot of anxiety around it, but the country's going to move forward. It really is. He's in ill health. We're going to hear more about it. The country's going to move on once he's gone. I'm not saying it gets instantly better. I'm not saying that. People are ready for it happening. I know, I can't think of anybody else whose obituary is so anticipated. Um, and people are ready for it. We got a lot of protection. We're ready to celebrate. Currently, we're anxious waiting to hear more about his health. We'll get there. It's gonna happen. We're gonna get the truth. They're keeping him confined. You know, the Lover's card here, and the chariot forward more the erratic movement that we saw on like the red carpet when he was walking down, and more celebrations. It's gonna happen. It really is. And that'll be a turning point. It won't be the end, it'll be a turning point. So, all right. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another reading soon.